Hello and welcome to the Wheel of Crime podcast. This podcast is ran by two ladies who play games, mumble profanities, and laugh way too often. Also, this podcast does cover topics of sensitive nature, and as such, listener discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Wheel of Crime podcast. My name is Jenn.
My name is Emily, and oh my goodness, we are back again. Not our fake coming back like we did last week. This is the real deal.
It sure is.
Yeah. Well, how, do you want to give any updates from our time off for the listeners? What kind of cool things have you been up to?
Yeah, not too many updates. There's been like a little bit of chaos in the air, but I feel like that's pretty normal for me, honestly. Right now I'm currently in my unemployment era, but she's ending soon, thankfully. So I start my next contract here in a month or so. What about you, Em? How was Mexico?
It was good. I learned a lot when I was in Mexico about exactly how different the Canadian climate is, because I think we landed there and it was so humid. I felt like I was just sweating nonstop. Like my clothes were stuck to my body the whole time. I was sweating every day. I drank, I think, almost 6 liters of water every single day. I had a crazy sunburn the first day. I'm pretty sure I got like sunstroke at one point because I like got super sick in a food poisoning kind of way, it felt like. But then I kept hallucinating water bottles at one point. So like for 1 week in Mexico, kind of a lot happened. But yeah, no, it made me appreciate where we're from though, because I understand when people live in tropical places or places that are closer to the equator, obviously they have lived there and climatized and it's probably a little bit different. But I'm not built for plus 40. It's not for me. I don't like it.
No, I am also not built for it, but
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that you had a fun, eventful trip.
Yeah, so that was good, though. It was nice to be able to travel and see some sights because I've never been somewhere tropical, so that was new and fun for me. And then the only other big thing is Jen and I and some friends went on a little Waterton camping trip, and that was very fun.
And when we say cabin, we say it very likely because it was more like glamping in a cabin.
Well, it was camping, but cabining. It was cabining in a place where other people were camping over the weekend in a national park, which was still fun.
It was actually really fun. I had a great time, and I want to do it again soon.
But yes, we should spin our wheel of questions, though, and get into it. So, what does your family typically do for Father's Day? Do you guys have any, like, special, like, things that are, like, yearly stuff you do together? Or, like, other little family traditions? What happens in your family's household for Father's Day?
Generally, me and my brother travel down to our hometown and we'll do either a barbecue in my parents' backyard or my dad out for dinner, whichever he is feeling. And then we usually get him a card with a Best Buy gift card and call it a day.
Nice. I mean, that sounds pretty festive for a father. I think that, like, see, dads are hard because it's like Father's Day happens and it's not like Mother's Day where you can kind of get away with like flowers, treats, that kind of thing. I mean, you probably could for your dad, but I feel like that's just not typically what people do. But I'm taking a hard left for my Father's Day plans this year so for my family, we usually, if there is anything that we do, it's usually dinner. He always wants us to go for like a hike or something, but there's also like 6 of us and
All grown.
only one of them, only one of them is still a kid. Everybody else is an adult now. So that's kind of tricky to like manage and have happen. But for me, what I plan on doing this year is I've decided for the first time ever in, I think, his history of life to give him flowers and chocolates. Because if mothers get it for Mother's Day, then a father probably wants them for Father's Day, maybe. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't know what else everybody else is doing this year, though.
Love that for you. Equality. We love it. But let's spin for our next question.
What's your favorite dad hobby? So this can be either a hobby that typically dads do or a hobby that your dad has or anything like that. What would be your favorite?
Go with drinking coffee. Because my dad loves to drink
Whatever.
coffee. And
Loser.
I also love to drink coffee.
Loser.
What? This man goes out for coffee more than
Do you need
humanly possible.
That's called an addiction, not a hobby. I'm talking like
It's a
bottle
hobby.
caps, coins, like stuff like that.
He collects coins. I'm not really into that. He loves camping and like going out on his quad, but that's not that. I'm gonna say I don't care what you think. This is my answer.
Fine. If that's the only option you'll give me, I'll take it.
What's yours?
I like the dad hobby of fishing. There's just something about like a man putting his teeny little butt on a boat and just like cooking in the sun all day to maybe catch a fish. That's just like so interesting to me. I'm like, what are you? Because I don't think that. Here's the thing. I'm not saying this to be mean, and obviously not all men, but I feel like the way men think and the way women think is very different. And not to say that I don't think men think.
I'm sorry you sound that way, but okay, continue.
But I just want to know what you're doing, like all day out on the boat. Like they don't bring books. They don't bring radios because you have to be quiet with the fish. What are they thinking about all day? Are they counting mosquitoes? Like what is happening in there?
We'll never know.
We'll never know. I'm neither a man nor a father, so that's not for me to answer. That is just I would like to know. I'm very curious.
Exactly. I love that for them.
I know. All right, should we spin for our next question?
Been away.
If you could be a dad, what would you be a dad for?
Interesting question.
Like, I'm talking, like, let's say you die right now and you are reincarnated and you have to be a man, non-negotiable, and you could come back as any animal to be a dad for. Like, what would you be a dad for?
I'll be a shark dad. I don't know why, but just cool.
I obviously know the sharks can be dads. I just don't remember off the top of my head how.
I'm pretty sure they're just a sperm donor and then they, swim away and they're like, well, that was fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just jerking off into, like, the water and they're like, if you want child, come and get it. And then they piece the fuck out. I'm choosing to believe that that's what happens. What would I be the dad for? A moose father.
Why?
They just seem very big. And I know, like, no animals would want to fuck with me on purpose. And then, like, if I want to, be there for rearing child, that I could, but I don't have to be.
Fair enough.
I could just like peace out, big horn life,
Love that for you.
I love that for me. All right, let's spin for our last question. So if you were going to be like a stereotypical kind of dad, what kind of dad would you want to be? Would you want to be like a golf dad? Or would you want to be like a metalhead dad? Or like what kind of dad do you think you would want to be? I want to be a country club dad because not only does that mean that I have money, but then I think by default you get that rich people laugh, which I do find very entertaining. That
See,
one.
but that's kind of a deadbeat because I feel like some dads are a little bit neglect stereotypically. We're full stereotypes right now.
But see, I would be so. Yeah. We're going full stereotype. But see, in that world, I would be so obsessed with myself, I wouldn't even know. See, it would be so peaceful. I would be so narcissistic. I would have no idea what's going on around me, and that is totally fine. I would just be like, golf club,
Slay.
fancy cheese, rich people laughing. That's like what I'm picturing for myself.
You know what? I could see for you.
Wait, I would be a man, so it would be more like expensive cuts of steak. rather than fancy cheese.
I would be a Home Depot dad, you know, the kind of dad who just wanders around Home Depot for hours, you know, looking for things for his, like, projects, you know, which are ever evolving.
And then instead of buying anything actually useful, you come home with like some nails. And then when everybody asks you what you found at Home Depot, you're like, it's for a project I'm working on.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like you pull up a teeny tiny folded paint sample thing out of your worn leather wallet. And you're like, see, I'm thinking we should repaint our daughter's dresser to be this color. What are you thinking?
And it's like the most hideous color ever.
It's like puke green.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you're colorblind because you're a man, right? So in your mind, you're thinking it's like a nice pale yellow, and it's actually highlighter barf vomit green.
But I've already committed because I already painted my truck.
And nobody can tell you otherwise because you're a man, and obviously whatever you say is the best thing ever, and nobody can tell you otherwise. So then you go and you paint your daughter's dresser puke yellow green, and then you keep it as an heirloom in your garage when she undoubtedly hates it and your wife tries to throw away until the end of time, and you keep all your tools in it.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that for you. I really see that for you in my mind's eye.
Perfect.
It'll be perfect. You'll have like a tool belt and everything. I can already see it.
Love that.
Love it. Can you guess what the secret theme today behind behind my episode for you is?
I'm assuming we're talking about some sort of fatherly crime.
Yes, I figured that I might as well get this story out here closer to Father's Day than further from Father's Day.
Wait. Is it Zeus?
No, we've already talked about Zeus. I'm not giving him any more attention. He has enough. But I'm going to tell you the description because I honestly don't think you'll be able to guess. But it does have to do with Father's Day, so I'll give you full points. Full points for guessing my story this week. Okay, so a golem is an animated anthropomorphic being in Jewish folklore which is entirely created from inanimate matter, usually clay or mud. The most famous golem narrative involves Judah Ben Bezalel. I did not say that right. The late 16th century rabbi of Prague. According to Moment magazine, the golem is a highly mutable metaphor which seemingly is limitless symbolism. It can be both a victim or a villain, man or a woman, or sometimes both. Over the centuries, it has been used in countless stories to connote war, community, isolation, hope, and despair. Have you ever heard of a golem, or do you have an idea in your head of what a golem is?
No, I've heard of Golem before.
No, this is not a Lord of the Rings thing. That could be cool, though. A golem is kind of like if you've ever seen like a fantasy show or seen like John play video games where there's like some giant hulking creature without a head, like that's like made of mud or something, and it usually is like a pawn to somebody. That's like the modern day version of what a golem is. It basically is like a golem. I'll get into it obviously more in my story, but it's with, I'm trying to think of like how surface level of a description I can get. Basically, if somebody's like kind of like magical or into like alchemy, they make this being to do their bidding for them, kind of.
I see, kind of like a henchman.
Yeah, kind of. So I'll get into it. The mysterious tale of the golem takes place in the dim tangle of lanes that once made up the now defunct Jewish quarter, today's gentrified Yosef, essentially a part of the old town. The tale goes that in the 16th century, the renowned Rabbi Low, also known as the Maral of Prague, was seeking a way to protect the local Jewish people from pogroms and on a whim of unpredictable rulers up in Prague Castle. Endowed with the power to transform the four elements into living things, he molded a superhuman from the mud of the Votava, which is known as the golem. So to bring the golem to life, Rabbi Low had to insert a shem, which is a clay tablet bearing the name of God, into its mouth. And the amorphous clay beast is usually depicted being around 8 feet, 2.4 meters high, with illuminated eyes and a thick belt around his considerable waist, though this image originates from the 20th century film called The Golem, and previous depictions show the creature being slightly thinner and more human-like, but always tall and muscular. And his task was, after all, to protect the Jewish people of Prague. With that in mind, it may come as a surprise to find out the word golem in Yiddish means stupid or lethargic, although the Hebrew meaning of the word was originally closer to shapeless mass. So is that description kind of ringing any bells for you?
I feel like I can't recall having done anything before, but that's interesting.
Interesting. Okay, because specifically the whole tablet thing, like somebody writing either a name or putting a spell on like a piece of like a stone or something and then using that to animate the clay is also like a trope kind of in some like versions of fantasy storytelling or like in like media, what have you. So that specifically does come up a fair bit. And yeah, so I was curious because I was like, you might not know what a golem is, but you might have seen something similar.
I feel like maybe seen that, like a variation of that trope, but I don't think I've seen that specific trope. But I also don't, I don't read a lot like fantasy. Like that's not my go-to genre.
I know, that's why I'm curious, because sometimes we meet in the middle on this stuff where, like, things overlap, but I'm more fantasy and you're non-fantasy, so it's interesting to see where that, like, comes together. So I'm happy, though. This will be the first time in a long time I'm telling a story you haven't heard of before. So, anyway.
No.
I'll get into it. So, Rabbi Lowe would deactivate his creation for the Sabbath to allow the creature to rest according to Jewish customs. However, one day he forgot and the golem went raging through the ghetto, destroying everything in its path. Rabbi Lowe was reciting funny. I went to Catholic church and I still do that. Psalm 92 in the Old and New Synagogue when he was interrupted and told the chaos the golem was causing. He eventually confronted the monster outside the synagogue and where he managed to remove the Shem, so the thing that was keeping the golem alive that has God's name on it.
Right.
So this golem was never revived and allegedly was later stored in the synagogue's attic where it remained locked up for centuries. To this day, Psalm 92 is recited twice during services in Prague's most favorite synagogue for this story. So, Rabbi Lowe was a historical figure and Jewish scholar, and visitors to Prague can see his gravestone in the old Jewish cemetery of the city. However, there is no evidence that he ever created a golem, and the earliest known account of this tale is from a book called Der Jüdische Gilblas, published by Friedrich Korn in 1834. And despite this, the legend of the golem has continued to captivate local people and visitors. The loft space above the synagogue prayer room was famously opened by journalist and Kafka contemporary Egon Erwin Kish during his fruitless search for the golem, and he had found nothing, not even a pile of earth some had eagerly anticipated would be in the attic. Other authors, mostly obscure 19th century German Jewish writers, published wildly differing and eloquently embellished versions of the story, and the 20th century saw numerous films made about the golem, shaping the public's image of the story. 50 years later, the image of the golem returned to Prague in various forms, including restaurant names, souvenir key rings, and fridge magnets, and tour themes, to assist with the post-communist tourist industry. His image can be found welcoming tourists to Yosef with his glaring eyes and often mildly threatening stance, which is also what people would see if they entered my house at any point.
Can confirm.
Can confirm. The golem legend is not unique to specifically Prague, however, as golems appear in local Jewish legend across Central and Eastern Europe. The oldest example coming from the 16th century Chelm in Poland, however, Prague's golem is the most famous of all, which is celebrated even today throughout the city and by those who visit. So, Psalm 92, this is what it is, okay? And this is in the most recent edition of the Bible because there's like 500 of them, okay?
Read me the original in Hebrew, Emily. Come on.
Listen, I'm a little rusty on my Hebrew, so we'll have to save that for another time. But Psalm 92 in the King James Version is, "It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord and to sing praises unto thy name, O Most High, to shew forth thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness every night, upon an instrument of 10 strings and upon the psalmistry, upon the harp with a solemn sound. For thou, Lord, hast made me glad. Through my work I will triumph in the works of thy hands. O Lord, how great are thy works, and thy thoughts are very deep. A brutish man knoweth not, neither doth a fool understand this. When the wicked spring as the grass, and when all the workers of iniquity do flourish, it is that they shall be destroyed forever. But thou, Lord, art most high forevermore. For lo, thine enemies, O Lord, for though thine enemies shall perish, All the workers of iniquity shall be scattered, but my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of a unicorn. I shall be anointed with fresh oil. Mine eye also shall see my desire on mine enemies, and mine ear shall hear my desire of the wicked that rise up against me. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in the Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age, and they shall be fat and flourishing, to shew that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. And to translate that from Bible to what we speak, that basically is just like, it's kind of like channeling the energy of God to strike down your enemies and also to help you on your path. So I'm curious though why this passage,
and something about a unicorn.
Yeah, and something about unicorns. I didn't even know the word unicorn was in the Bible, if I'm going to be honest. But that's basically like the vibe of the passage, which I find interesting because it's like, is it meant then that this passage in the Bible is attributed specifically to the golem because they're trying to use the will of God to channel a servant of the Lord, like what the golems may be supposed to be? You know, I don't understand. I'm trying to like. That's the most thing that makes...
You're watching in real time as Emily is calculating in her head what this means.
Yeah, Jenn has to see this anytime I have a conversation with her about anything that ever happens to me in my life. But you guys are getting this in real time. Because I just read, like, the first line originally when I was, like, doing my notes. I didn't read the full passage. But that has to be it. Like, the whole, I'm calling on the Lord so that he may help me strike down my enemies. But I'm putting this energy into a mudman, and the mudman is gonna work for me, and also God doing what I want him to do, is my guess. That's kind of what I think. But yeah, and that pretty much wraps up my quick little story for you guys. I really wanted to do a Father's Day themed story, but I really had a hard time finding one, because, it'd be like that sometimes. But can you take a guess on what the crime is or why I picked Golem for Father's Day, Jenn?
Is it because he would definitely mow the lawn every Saturday?
He would probably do that. I didn't even think about that. There's like, it's another trope thing where people who make golems, like in media, are always like, my son. Like the golem is like their child in a way, because a man cannot become pregnant and have a baby. So this is like the way in media anyways that I've seen for modern times. This is how people portray men creating their own children, is by creating golems basically and having them be their children.
I see.
So Father's Day because men and their little mud children. And the crime
that they're better
is
men.
How dare... The crime is that they're men. And how dare...
The end.
That's
Bye.
it. Podcast over. And also, how dare you let your little mud man run through town on a Sunday? Because that's illegal.
It is against the law, and no, we will not elaborate
And
more.
straight to jail. But yeah, so I hope everybody liked our little bite-sized episode for today. I thought it'd be super fun, super cute, super fresh. Especially since it's our first time being back, and I was like 50-50 on whether or not any of our recording devices would work. So now that we know,
genuinely concerning.
Yeah, very concerning. But now that we know, everything's back to normal and we're good. Yay!
Yay! Yeah.
Yeah, if you liked today's episode, you can check us out on our website, which is www.wheelofcrime.com. We also have our social media, which is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, all at Wheel of Crime. We have our Patreon, which is Wheel of Crime at Patreon, if you would like to donate to the show. We have our email, which is wheelofcrime@gmail.com, if you want to check us out on there. And if you want to review the show, and hopefully you like us, and hopefully other people like us, and hopefully you can help us find other people who maybe like us, it does help with kind of getting the apps and stuff to branch out to listeners who might be interested in our stuff, which is cool if you want to give us a review. And lastly, because we are still doing our themed listener stories or even just regular listener stories, I say theme, the theme being that they're listener stories, you can submit a story on our Instagram, I believe. We got a little Google Doc form up there, other social media, we have it up. And you can just write in and share a story about anything, really. Do you have a crime story? Do you have a kind of broad story like what I cover due to mythology or ghosts or aliens or whatever have you? You can submit it to the show and we will read it out. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yes, that's it. That's all. And we will see you next week for another episode. Okay, bye.
Bye.